Jazzcast Pros.
There is a lot of resistance and fear and myths around LGBTQ parents and families, but working with parents or youth that identify as LGBTQ is no different than working with any other population. And I myself am married to a woman. I don't have any children at this point in time, but this is something that I have always thought about too in my own personal journey. And so now working at Families Thrive, it is very interesting just to see how accepting they are for any type of person that just wants to be a parent.
Welcome to License to Love. I'm Lori McKnight, Executive Director of Families Thrive.
And I'm Veronica Black.
Together, our mission is to demystify the process of gaining your license to foster or adopt in New York State.
And to empower you with the tools, insight, and confidence to open your heart and home.
So welcome to episode 13 of License to Love. My name is Rachel Doig, and I am the marketing assistant here at Families Thrive.
My name is Michelle Hinds, and I am the senior home finder and trainer at Families Thrive.
Yeah, so today we're going to be discussing the contrast kind of between long-term and a little bit newer foster and adoption families that are joining our agency, as well as the acceptance of affirmation of all parents and families and children that come into our agency.
Our guests today are longtime foster parents, Melissa and Lydia, and Carlos and his husband Andrew will be joining us, and they are just beginning their journey in our adoption program with Families Thrive.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Yes. Thank you, guys. Yes, you're welcoming us. Some of us are a little newer to this than you are.
Right here.
Just to start off, why don't we get into kind of fostering from A to Z, Michelle? So, if a family was to show interest in fostering or adopting with our agency, what would that look like? What does their experience kind of look like coming to us?
So it starts as an inquiry. So some people will find our website and they can make an inquiry right through our website. There's a link there that they can just click on. It will send us their information, and they most likely would get a call from myself to discuss what our programs look like and give them a little bit of background on Families Thrive and what it looks like to be a foster parent with Families Thrive or an adoptive parent with Families Thrive. And that's kind of like, that's the beginning of the process. And then comes paperwork. But as we're working through all of the paperwork, because we do, we need to get to know our foster parents, prospective foster parents. So there is the paperwork that has to get done. There's some background checks. There's all of those things. But the fun part comes when we start training. And once we've talked and I've met with the families, we decide when they're ready to start trainings. And our trainings are dictated through New York State. They let us know, hey, this is how many hours we need to do these trainings. And they're 30 hours, and we add a few more onto there. So we say 36 hours of trainings over the course of about 12 weeks to teach all the families what it's like to be a foster parent. We can never really give you an exact of what it's like because it's such a journey, but we like to prepare our families as best we can because the kids that do come into our homes have experienced trauma and loss and grief. And so that's what our classes look like. Our classes look like us sitting at a table and just having conversation and learning about the kids that are in care, why they're in care, what it looks like to be a foster kid, what it feels like to be a foster kid, and how can we parent them through this journey that they're going to be on along with us. So it is a journey for our kids. So, that's kind of where it starts. It starts with conversation with myself or one of our adoptive home finders, training, paperwork. And then we decide, if this is a good fit. Are we going to continue on this journey together and open your home as a foster home? Or, we continue this journey and prepare you to be an adoptive parent in our adoption program. So it's kind of a little bit of what it looks like.
Yeah, I know it's hard to kind of explain it quickly in a nutshell, but that's fantastic.
Yeah, it's a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I guess, Carlos, since you've been a little bit of a more recent addition to our agency, how was that experience for you?
I mean, so far we had two or three classes, not sure. And I mean, I've learned more with it than reading about it. And then the training, you see the stories of the families that go through foster care and they want reunification with their children. So I felt like whenever I can, I think I could help some of those people because you can see that they're really trying to reunify. I mean, my goal is actually foster to adopt, but I don't know, maybe in the future when some of our kids leave the house, we can maybe help some families too.
Yeah, absolutely. And Melissa and Lydia, I know you guys have been in with the agency for a long time, but if you can kind of remember what it felt like going through the process, can you just tell us a little bit about that?
Well, we've only been with the agency for 2 years, maybe. And we came from a different agency. So our experience was a little different. So with that, we did pop in on classes because it had changed since we originally took the classes. But, standard paperwork with classes. But we learned a lot in the classes.
We learned about ourselves.
Yes, and learned about ourselves and together and how we each might parent and,
Right. Yeah, that's fantastic. And if you can learn kind of like what Carlos was saying too, you can only read so much about what the experience is going to be like. So being able to take classes and maybe come to an open house or start doing things like that probably helps to kind of open your eyes to what the on the ground experience is going to be like, right?
It is. And you're learning different scenarios and situations too. It's a little more hands-on.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fantastic.
I'm also, I was adopted by a family. So I've been in that process. I've been in this country for 37 years. So it's definitely an experience. And now looking at it in a different way too is also.
Yeah, you're on the other side of that now. Could we back up just a smidge? Carlos, when you first decided that you wanted to kind of start this journey, what was it like reaching out and connecting with Families Thrive? Like, what did that look like for you? Was it an easy process for you?
We tried first with the county, and it was not an easy process because took longer for us to have someone that we could talk to. It took a month, I think. And then after that, it was difficult because they denied us right away, without actually knowing our family, only after the first interview. And then with Families Thrive, we're able to talk to someone right away. And from that on, it was a conversation at least once a week. And Michelle and Sarah, they answered all of our questions, and they are also helping us with the training and everything. So it felt more smooth. And also, I don't know, I feel more confident that they have the best interest in mind, because since it's so hard to find families that are willing to foster or adopt, I don't feel like it's in the children's best interest to just deny someone without even knowing them right away, So Families Thrive had talks with us. They also had the first contact, on-site contact with them was at their building, and we had some people, including Melissa and Lydia, that were there. I mean, one of them was there to talk about what it is like to foster children and basically answer questions for everyone that was thinking about fostering. So I felt there was more information and less insecurity in the process,
Yeah, because you
I
came to our
felt
open house, right?
Yeah. We always want to make sure that our families feel supported and that you always have the resources that you need, and anything that, might feel a little overwhelming or you might be a little fearful of. We want to try to be there to support our families to help you through anything that might be an issue, or that might, or even afraid that it might become an issue. So that's great to hear that.
we just wanted to be able to get them to know us. And
yeah, absolutely.
And going off of what Carlos said, the agency really takes the time to get to know their families and their people that they're with, which is great.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And you guys are also so important to the children that are in care, that it needs to not even be a second guess, that we care about our families and want to make sure that you feel supported and appreciated for all of the hard work that you do and the time that you take to take care of the kids.
Yeah.
It's very important.
Yeah, and supported throughout the entire process, right? So from the beginning, from the moment you call us, like, we want you to understand that we're here for you. We want you to understand that, the process can be tedious and the process can be long, but we're there to support you every step of the way. And then once you do open, as Melissa and Lydia, we're there to support you through the ups and downs and ins and outs and all of the things that come with having a child placed in your home. So we do that for you because we appreciate you for everything that you do. And we appreciate people that come in and want to do more for kids. It's something that we absolutely want to show you how much we appreciate you. So that's, we really do, from beginning to end, appreciate everything you do for us.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
So one of the things that we're curious about, and what, either of you guys can answer this, like, what made you want to begin this journey with fostering and adopting? Like, what's your why when you started?
Well, ours is a little complicated, but the short answer was we tried other avenues with having a family. And at the time that we started, we didn't think we were ready or equipped to foster. But, 10 years later, a little more mature, a little more, confident. Yeah. And so we looked into fostering with hopefully the, goal of adoption if that became available. Yes.
Right. Because everybody that comes into this, we always talk about how important it is for kids to be reunited with their families. But when that can't happen, yes. And after, the processes happen. And if that doesn't happen, then all of our families can adopt if that arises, even our families that are fostering. If that chance does come, everybody is certified to fostering to adopt the child if that need arises. So thank you for sharing that. Carlos, can you share kind of what your why was for deciding to foster to adopt?
Ever since I came out, I always thought of having children, like having a family of mine and everything, like, especially because, right now, everything is okay, mostly. But at the time when I came out, it was a bit hard with my family to just, like, accept me and everything. It was, early 2000. So I felt like I needed basically, like, a connection with people, like, as a family. I had my grandma, and I don't think she would have a problem with that, but I never told her that I was gay. But, like, my parents were very conservative, and yeah, I felt like I wanted a family, and I wanted to help. I knew that I was living in Brazil at the time, and I knew that even in Brazil, like, older kids have a really hard time to be adopted. So I felt like I could join those wants, I guess, like me wanting to have a family of mine and then a kid that needs to be adopted and that might not be after like they're older. And now, like, after being with Andrew and helping taking care of our kids together, I felt like it was less worrisome than I thought. Like, the kids are really nice to live with. And I mean, of course, Andrew and his ex-wife are the main reason for that, I think. But at the same time, like, you see the kids grow and they become nice people because they're around you.
Yeah.
And it's just nice to have them around.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. We really appreciate it.
Hello, Andrew. I see you just joined us.
I am so sorry. It took so long at Home Depot.
It's okay. No worries.
Priorities, the new house.
Carlos has been a really big influence for the boys too. I know he was talking about how my ex and I, we did a lot to raise the boys, but he's a very calming presence. And so he helps me stay calm and centered. And I think that's rubbed off on our boys too. So it's been beneficial for the three of us too, to have him here, not just the other way around.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's great to hear.
Yeah, we were sharing a little bit about your experiences kind of with Families Thrive and what it's been. Melissa and Lydia have been with Families Thrive a year and a half, almost 2 years. And you and Carlos kind of are just starting your journey with Families Thrive. So we were just kind of wondering, from your perspective, what it's been like for you.
So, my ex-wife and I actually did adopt. Our second child is adopted. And it was a private adoption. So we went through the home study and those things. So I knew how invasive it can be when you do that. And in that situation, we just dealt with a caseworker. It was just for a home study and we knew the birth mother of our son. So it was very different. And I have to say, Family Thrive has just been so welcoming and kind of helped settle that from the get-go. I mean, my first exposure, or our first exposure, was an open house that you guys did, and we went to that, and it was just nice to see how much your organization as a whole cares, not only about the children that you're trying to help get connected with families, but also us as the families looking for children, and how you care about our stories and our experience, and how you're willing to work around our differences and the things that every person brings a different package to the table when it comes to trying to become a foster parent or adopt. And it's very obvious that your organization cares about us as a couple, as an individual, as an already established family, and looking at how we can, open our arms and hearts and bring other children or a child into our home. So it's been a really good experience.
That's awesome. That's so good to hear. Thank you for sharing that.
That's great. Yes, that's fantastic. So, just kind of going off of what we were chatting about a little bit earlier, do you ever feel like there's been any kind of discrimination against you fostering or adopting as an LGBTQ plus person?
Andrew and I feel differently about it, but
okay.
he had a worse reaction, and I understand it because, like, the rejection was also based on one of our kids who has ADHD and emotional dysregulation that comes with it. And we think we were misunderstood without even like having a chance of them to talk to our kids and also talk to their counselor or our counselors even, because we also went through therapy and everything that we did so far. And basically, if there wasn't prejudice, it was at least a bias through our first interview. And I don't think you can know a person or a family through just one talk with them,
Yeah.
So we were very open, to provide doctors' phone numbers and names and counselors for everyone, actually, like for Greer, who is our oldest, and me and Andrew. But yeah, none of them were contacted. So basically, I feel like, I mean, and I understand on some level because, like in the caseworker's position, I would be concerned because the children cannot be placed in a house that's not safe for them. But at the same time, like, you have to make sure that you're not being biased against a couple like we think we were. Because, like I said, only one interview doesn't mean that you know it.
Right. It's very kind of a surface level kind of overview of you, right? You know, you're not looking into a lot of different layers that are in any kind of family unit.
From my side, I think I understand being thorough and a vetting process. Like, it's not about that angle for me. I think it was harder for me to hear them basically say to us that they didn't feel that our relationship we'd lived together long enough, or that in essence, they implied that we didn't have a real marriage. And, you know, the funny thing is, Carlos is an immigrant. So the federal government has already ruled that our marriage is valid and is a real marriage, because otherwise he wouldn't have been granted the visa to enter the country and his green card. So it really just felt, as Carlos kind of mentioned, that there was some bias even before she stepped foot into our home. And it also felt that there was no desire to understand anything about who we are as people, the struggles and trauma and things that we have faced that actually, in our opinion, make us very solid candidates to be foster parents and to adopt children that have trauma and special needs. I've spent hours, and I'm going through the process with our younger son too, to get the help that you need for a child that has ADHD. That's super. He had emotional dysregulation, and that manifested mostly at home, because at school, everyone was like, he's so laid back, he goes with the flow. And so for years, we were going with the flow and he wasn't getting the help that he needed. And so it took a lot. It took us 2.5 years of very concerted effort to get him support. And now we're facing something similar with our younger son, because he does very well in school, but all the markers are there for potentially some autism, but also ADHD with his executive dysfunction. But he does so well in school, similar to how I did as a child, that it's a very different issue that you're facing with. It's like, well, you know, if you weren't lazy, or if you just tried harder, you could have the better grades. But it's not about lazy. It's not about what's, you know, just trying harder. Correct. There's an actual issue there, and it's neurological, it's neurodevelopmental. And just like Carlos said, the fact that they challenged our marriage from the gate, and there were comments made right as she walked in the door about how different and unique our case was, which felt strange to me. But then as she went on, and then to have her say that, you know, it was disqualifying for our son who has ADHD, and she'd never spoken with him or reached out to his counselors, and they love him, and he is doing very well. He is thriving in school. And his therapist told him several years ago that he felt that if he wanted to continue therapy, that would be okay. But he felt that he'd reached a point where he had a better control on his emotions and could express more and was managing those better. And in fact, has come a very long way with the struggles that come with parents that divorce when you're very young, and then ADHD and dyslexia that is not treated. So the bias was very clear, and it kind of hurt in a big way, because it really felt like they were saying, you know, you people with ADHD are a problem, when I guarantee that there are a lot of children in foster care and looking for families that struggle with that too. And who better than someone that knows the struggle of not having it recognized, or someone that has it recognized and knows what it is to go through a school system and try to get help for yourself and have your parents advocate for you. So I just felt, you know, it could have a little more research, a little better due diligence could have gone a long way in what they proclaimed about our family. And yeah, Carlos knows I'm the more reactive one. I'm the one that wants to fight the injustice. So, so of course I get a little more reactive about it, but he does ground me. That's that's the good part. We're a good yin and yang to one another. So
do you feel like there was any sort of anything to do with you being a same-sex couple
Yes, I do. And they didn't say that, but the fact that, they asked questions specifically about our sexual history and if we had, we gave our partner history, Carlos gave his, and then there was a follow-up question to him about if he had any heterosexual relationships, which he had just disclosed all of his relationships. So it really did feel that this was an undertone to the situation. And then there was the layer of him being an immigrant and them not knowing how to deal with that situation. And the fact that we've been married for 4 years in total now, but the first almost 2 years, we were bicontinental. He was working in Germany, but from Brazil. And I would go over there for a month or so. And then he would come over here for a month or two. And so we were going back and forth and doing the best we could to make sure that we got quality time with our children, and we got quality time with each other and the places that we were working. So I understand that is a very different scenario to deal with. So I can extend grace to them in that sense, but it did feel like there was a very, I want to say, strong current of bias based off of the fact that we were a same-sex couple mingled with the fact that he was an immigrant. So it was I was kind of gobsmacked, to be honest.
It's unfortunate. It's definitely unfortunate.
We found the same experience, and then we found Families Thrive. Mm-hmm. I want to focus more on Families Thrive and how great they have been with us, but we had a very similar experience. It wasn't necessarily for, us being together, same sex couple. It probably was an undertone of it, but they found one thing and they harped on it, and we proved to them it wasn't what it was. And it was just finding anything to get us out. So, right. But Families Thrive has been the complete opposite of that. Very understanding, very caring, very receptive, and honestly wanting us there. And not just feeling like we didn't belong.
Yeah. And that's
similar to Melissa, but one of the things that I've gone through in my life, it was hard for me to handle. And then coming to Families Thrive, the question that I literally the first question I asked, even though I knew Michelle prior, was is my learning disability a problem? Because that's where automatically dismissed me because of, yes, I had alcohol problems, but those are done now. I do have PTSD. I've gone through that. But all those things that I've gone through, where I am today, Families Thrive just made me feel like I belonged and was accepting immediately. This is where I belong now with Families Thrive.
Yeah, that makes us really happy to hear, and that's so unfortunate that all of you have gone through that. And even just feeling the undertones is frustrating because you are trying to do everything to prove that you are a safe, stable home for a child, and for them to look at just very small things and, say that doesn't check the box or something like that. That's very frustrating because there's so many children that need a home and that are in care, and for them to dismiss you for something that is really seemingly small in the grand scheme of things, whether it's immigration status, your learning disability, anything that we've talked about so far is just, it's very disheartening and disappointing given how many kids just need a safe and loving home. Yes. So the fact that all four of you have kind of gone through some of those circumstances and still said, no, I want to do this. I want to make this work. I want to be a home for a child, no matter what that looks like, is a very wonderful thing because, you've pushed past a lot of that, almost kind of what feels like bias. And I'm so glad that you guys have found this agency because we do really try to accept anyone from any walk of life. Even just these past couple weekends, we've had some events that we've been at, and people from all different areas of life with all different experiences come up to the table and say, hey, am I too old? Am I too young? Like, am I enough of this, enough of that? And, it doesn't matter what you are. If you can take care of a child and you have the ability to take care of a child, we want you here. We want you as part of the family and to give you the resources that you might need. So, there is a lot of resistance and fear and myths around LGBTQ parents and families, but working with parents or youth that identify as LGBTQ is no different than working with any other population. And I myself am married to a woman. I don't have any children at this point in time, but this is something that I have always thought about too in my own personal journey. And so now working at Families Thrive, it is very interesting just to see how accepting they are for any type of person that just wants to be a parent. We've had a lot of inquiries lately, even of single people that are saying, hey, can I adopt? Can I foster? You don't have to be married. You don't have to be anything at all. It does not need to be put in a box to be the perfect parent. So impeding anybody, whether that's someone with a disability, LGBTQ parents, someone that's older, it just hurts the kids that need the families the most, right? No, go ahead, Michelle.
Do you feel, and anybody can answer this, do you feel that there's misinformation out in the community, out in the world about people in the LGBTQ plus community that's associated with parenting? Do you think there's misinformation out there? And can we help clear that up? Can we help clear that up right now?
I can speak to my own experience.
Yeah.
I was raised in a Mormon family. So there's a lot of bias that's around even just my family. And one of the biggest things that first hit, and this was from my own sister, was that the idea that just because we are LGBT, we're pedophiles, or we have some perversion towards children. And so there, I don't have to go into details about what happened between us with that, but I do think that there is a component of that happens, and the bias still kind of lingers with a lot of people. And the data does not bear that out in a very strong way. But, I think it's a much broader thing. I have friends that are influencers that have gone the surrogate route and have triplets, and the amount of hate that they get on social media just for sharing their life and that they're fathers together and that they have 3 surrogate children, and the hate that gets spewed at them, it's really reflective. I don't want to say it's reflective on anyone's specific religion at all, actually. It really is more reflective on people's inability to look at themselves and challenge and question the things and the biases that they've held throughout their life or that they've been exposed to. And I think a lot of times for LGBT people, we've been forced to face that because we all come from backgrounds that are very diverse, but a lot of us have a history of dealing with family members or friends that have these biases, and it causes fear in us coming out, just to be honest and authentic about who we are. And then you layer in the biases that they have about us getting married, developing our own relationships, and building our families. So it's so multifaceted, and it really comes down to that personal level of how comfortable someone is in sitting in their own bias. and that's a very hard thing to break. And so in my approach, I'm an elected official, so I faced that when I was out on the campaign trail. I faced the public a little bit more, and I have just tried to focus on the commonality of being whatever the thing is, right? Being a parent is being a parent. It doesn't matter who your partner is in that process. You're still a parent, and the challenges of being a parent are the same. It's unfortunate that we layer other biases on top of that. We all have them. We all project those things in other, one way or another. And so the biggest challenge is learning to be self-aware enough to try to confront your own biases when that happens, and be the example of confronting your own biases and holding people accountable. And I think that's where, kind of going back, my desire to cause change from the county isn't because I want to punish a caseworker that we worked with or her supervisor. It's I want to motivate change and to make them aware that their bias is impacting people's ability to foster or to adopt. And that impacts children. That means fewer people to bring children into their home. So it's not just about, punishing someone who's LGBT or preventing them. You're preventing someone from finding a family or creating a family. And it's so broad and so multifaceted. It's hard to say, here's the thing that we can do. But I like to think of it as be the example, right? When I do something that's biased, I try to own it, apologize, and be better. And I think that's the strongest case that we can make for anyone is be the example of not being biased or confronting your bias when you realize it and try to be aware. Those are the best ways that I think we can approach it.
I completely agree with what Andrew said. There is a lot of bias out in the world. There's a lot of prejudice out in the world, but I feel like a lot of it comes from those who you're closest to, family. That was my biggest hang up of coming out was, my family. Am I going to be rejected? Am I going to have that family anymore? And I decided my family were my friends, the ones that I made my family. So it is hard to change people's bias. A lot of mine came from religion aspect as well, being Christian, living out in the country. There's those blinders that only this is what should exist. Anything outside of there is perverted, along with what Andrew said is, facing those and standing up for those, showing people, I think is the best way. And when you have an agency like Families Thrive that embraces our differences, whether it's LGBTQ, whether it's single or any race or nationality, it doesn't matter. Whenever they embrace that, it spreads out into the world. And we're able to help more kids and kids who might be LGBTQ as well, or who might not be accepted by their families for whatever other thing it might be. So we appreciate Families Thrive for embracing everyone.
Well, we appreciate you. And one of the things that I can say that I respect is that this conversation has come down to what's important for the kids, right? And how it's about the kids. It's about, when we're looking at adoption, it is about growing our family, right? But in the big picture, we're looking at what is best for the kids, right? And what's best for the kids is that they have a family. And that we do not look at it as these youth need a mom and a dad, right? We look at it as these youth need family, no matter what that family looks like, right? And it can be, when we look at the age of a foster family, we look at the family dynamic, we look at none of that matters. What matters is that you are amazing humans who are going to be amazing parents to whatever child is placed in your home. I look at my own family and want my children to know and understand that if they feel that they fall into the LGBTQ plus community, that they can come to me, and I bring that to my job all the time, because when we have kids that come into care, I want them to know that if they are in that community, that we have homes that are going to support them and love them and care for them, right? No matter what that looks like. So I appreciate you sharing with us, and I appreciate that you see in us acceptance as an agency. I appreciate that.
It's not only acceptance, but support as well. And it doesn't matter what dynamic of family you have, single, together, man and woman, 2 men, 2 women. It doesn't matter that you're supported as well.
Yeah.
You're encouraged, you're supported as well.
I just want to come over there and just hug on those little girls right now. Like, they're like, we need some Miss Michelle right now. We need Miss Michelle.
And the little saw you on camera offside. So she's like, I want to see the show.
That.
I think
That's
Melissa,
why I keep muting it.
I think Melissa hit on something really, really like that I see as a common theme, with the LGBTQ community. We build our families. Like a lot of us lose family connections.
Yes.
And sometimes it's permanent. Sometimes it's temporary. My family has gradually come around. They've embraced Carlos. I still have some family members that have not, but I have friends that I would consider to be closer than my sibling. Like there's no way I could ever replace them. And I feel that same approach and that culture is what I sense from Families Thrive in how we've interacted. I mean, we did have a sit down with a panel of people, and we were very nervous just because of our experience with Monroe County. And so going into it, I was like, what is about to happen? And
we were all in an office.
A sense of like, yes. And of course, there's
like
a
the
sense of like,
principal's
are we about
office,
to get
right?
rejected again? Yes. Are we in trouble? And that was not how it unfolded at all. And it was a community of kindness that was embracing and seeking to understand. And I think that in our community, and my experience, as we've all sought our ways to build our own families in whatever shape that looks like, our community, we have a stronger skill at doing that. And we get a sense of who we can relate to, and we build that network out. And it feels that way with Families Thrive. It's not what we experienced at Monroe County at all, that there was walls or buffers. It felt like an open, clean slate where it was questions and we want to understand so we can help you find more children or a child or build your family. And we want to be a partner and we want to be a part of that family. So it definitely feels very familiar in what's happened with my LGBT friendships and community and the family I have built external of my core family unit. And it just feels like Families Thrive is slotting in as one of the branches on my LGBTQ family tree, right? So I think Melissa really hit it on the head when she talked about building a family is kind of what we have to do a lot of times, because with people's biases, it doesn't always mean family relationships last. And so we find those that do. And I think it's an extension of what we have to do as foster parents and as adoptive parents. And I think you guys all have kind of led that example in how you administrate what you're doing. So, I mean, there's a lot of kudos to go out to you guys as well, that it definitely feels that you are trying to build families. And that extends to families of parents trying to become parents, right? Like, it's not just about just the kids. It's about like a whole network of people that are working to build a community of family.
It takes a tribe.
It certainly does. Certainly does.
Having that support system is so important, no matter what kind of parent you are. But if it's important for all parents and for LGBTQ parents even more, because there's still, we've come a long way in the last 10 years since marriage equality, but there's still a lot of dispelling of myths to go through too. And I wonder too, based off of what you guys were saying and how a lot of LGBTQ people have to build their own families. I also just wonder how that factors into them wanting to foster and adopt more than even just necessarily saying, and regardless of what anyone's choice is, whether they decide to go IVF or surrogacy or anything like that, I think there's a lot of LGBTQ parents that are saying, I don't care what this kid looks like. I don't care what they turn out to be. I just want them to know that I am here to love them and support them. And especially if you might not have felt yourself that loved and supported when you were coming out or growing up too. I think there's a lot of passion underlying in people to do better, to kind of break that cycle of misunderstanding and judgment for their children.
Yeah. For me, I'm late diagnosed ADHD. And so I just got it this year. It's like very brand new for me, but it has changed how I understand like what my past was, like my childhood, my whole experience. But it also did a lot for me to help understand how to relate with my son who has ADHD and how to help him regulate when he can't do it for himself. And I've told Carlos, I said, I know I'm really hard to have as a partner. And he's getting even better at helping me regulate. And because he's using some of the same things that I've learned how to do with my son, just because understanding makes such a world of difference. And the fact that, you know, my background, I've had to build my family in many different ways. It just opens up this door in my mind that all of this experience, even the bias, the frustration I had with Monroe County, all it did was make me realize how much this mattered to me and how much more committed I was to helping a child have a home. Like, it wasn't even just about being a parent. It was like helping another child, because, you know, we had to sit our children down because they of course were reticent about adopting, and they were concerned. And we sat them down, and it was super emotional, and they were gagging about it and not really enjoying how emotional I was. But the core of what I tried to explain to them is, we love being parents so much to you that we want to bring other children to continue to share that love. We don't want to replace you. We don't want to eliminate you. We loved this experience so much. We want to do more and have more people in our family. So, like, it's just, I don't know, all the ups and downs. All I can say is it's a beautiful experience that, while it can be frustrating at times, it's opportunity, and it's excitement, and it's love, and it's friendship. And Family Thrive is enabling that for us, which we thought the door was closed. So it's even better. And it just makes us feel very grateful for your willingness to open your hearts and your doors and your minds so that we can all grow together and improve all of our lives. Like, it's not just about a child. I mean, there's definite positive impact for them, but there's concerns as we go through the training. We're like, oh, dealing with trauma. Do I have the skill set for this? Can I
Yes, you
understand?
do. Yes, you do.
And I go, yes, because I want to have the impact. I want to help that child. And so whatever the skills are we lack, we'll figure it out. And gratefully, there's a support system, just like you were saying. And we're very excited about that. It's helped me feel reassured that, yes, we can manage this no matter what the challenge is. There's a system. There are people that care. And that's what really matters.
Absolutely.
So we were talking about the training and things like that. And I wish more people could just take that training, because I think, and as you go through it, you'll understand that it helps people to understand their own lives outside of fostering. It helps us to understand other people. It helps us in our interactions with people, because we understand, because we're learning about their brain and traumas and things like that. So the training is so important. And when you said, do I have the skill? Yes, you're going to get those skills. You have those skills. And throughout this training, and you guys took a lot of our trainings, and, you know, as parents, you learn a lot through this training about yourself, and coming into our family with Families Thrive and doing the trainings. We hope that that's something that happens. You learn about yourself so that you can help the children that are placed in your home. So someone whose job is to train and find, you know, safe homes for children, it's very important to me that we are accepting of families from the LGBTQ plus community, because we need the children that come into care to be accepted, because we don't know their traumas. We don't know how they were raised, really. We don't know coming in if they're already part of your community, right? And we need to be able to put them in homes that are loving and kind and accepting of who they are as a whole, no matter what they come with. You know, and one of the things that we talk about in trainings, and I'm very open with my classes to say, if your home cannot accept a youth from the LGBTQ plus community, you have to tell me now. That is your choice, but I cannot put a child in your home if you cannot accept them wholeheartedly, because you're going to be causing more trauma on that child. And so it's very important to me that I have homes such as yours and other homes that are open and honest and accepting of the youth that come into the home that might not fit into this little tiny box that we think they should. And so I appreciate you all and what you're doing and what you're going to do in the future for yourselves, for your community, and for the youth that maybe are going to need to be in your homes.
Well, and on that note, it's only possible because this agency has done so much to be open for everyone who comes through their doors.
Thank you guys all for being here. This has been a really great conversation. I know we've touched on a lot of really important topics, and we really appreciate you all being so open and honest with us. I know it's not always easy to talk about, especially past experiences and things like that have led you to this place. But we are so glad that you are here with us and that you are taking children that need homes and that you are loving them regardless of what they become and what they turn out to be.
We appreciate you guys very much. Lydia, can we see your hair one more time?
Yes. And the Pride Parade is coming up this weekend, like we were talking about earlier, and the festival. So you are all ready and decked out for it, which is fantastic.
Yes, I am. She does it for June and July.
Yep. And Family Thrive will be walking in the parade.
Yes, we will be walking in the parade this weekend. Hopefully we don't get rained out, but we have some really very exciting things happening too. We have the Red Wings game coming up in August. We have our annual gala in November. So for any of our families that might be listening, anybody else that is listening, please make sure to keep an eye on our website and our social media pages for all the updates there. And follow our podcast, License to Love, if you have not already, on Jazzcast Pros. Thank you guys again for being here. We can't express how much we appreciate your input and your conversation today.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to License to Love.
If you're curious, cautious, or already in the process, License to Love is your roadmap on this journey.
Every child deserves a safe, loving home. And we're here to help you gain your license to foster and adopt. Follow License to Love on the Jazzcast Pros Network, available wherever you get your podcasts.